You know, I must tell you, there's something very weird and strange about Jean-Claude Carrière. Look up his credits, and you'll find he has writing credits on 139 films. Among them, Belle de Jour, The Tin Drum, This Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, The Diary of a Chambermaid, That Obscure Object of Desire, and the list goes on and on. About his 35-year collaboration with Louis Buñuel, the great Louis Buñuel, Jean-Claude wrote, "The screenwriter had better work with the one who was making the film in order to reach the point where they're working on the same film. I calculated," he said, "that Buñuel and I ate together, just the two of us, more than 2,000 times, which is much more than many couples can say. Not quite so lucky as Buñuel. I calculate that we ate together only hundreds of times while making The Unbearable Lightness of Being. Together with Saul Zaentz, we scouted alternatives for Prague where we were not allowed to shoot. Back in the Bay Area, we hung out every day. We even lived together at times. We became a couple. I remember soaking side by side in Calistoga baths, mud up to our chins, trying to unravel Milan Kundera's novel and gain insight into the womanizer Tomas, played by Daniel Day-Lewis. After the mud baths, while two young masseuses firmly plied their trade, we discovered Tomas's two lovers. We discussed Tomas's two lovers, Juliette Binoche and Lena Olin. Jean-Claude asked me, if I were Tomas, which would be my first choice to... I chose one, and Jean-Claude vehemently disagreed. It's not easy teaching something about sex to a Frenchman. Later, back at my office, my company is called Walrus and Associates because I had made a film with walruses in it. The argument continued. The more heated I became, the more quiet he became. He was just scribbling furiously on a notepad. Then Jean-Claude showed me the notepad. While I'd been rampaging, the guy had been drawing cartoons. A series of walruses, two big, fat, naked walruses smoking cigars, pontificating like big shots, arguing about how to come up with a hit movie. Two walruses bickering over the meaning of Unbearable Lightness of Being, squabbling over walruses' sexual preferences. Well, his cartoons transformed our mood, and magically our stalemate was broken, and suddenly we knew we were working together on the same film. Now we could agree that Tomas could make love to both women. That's when I found out that for many years Jean-Claude had made a living as a professional cartoonist. And for many, many years, he'd been a prolific novelist, film critic, and tireless essayist. One novel about Einstein, and recently with Umberto Eco, he wrote This Is Not the End of the Book. He's also closely collaborated with his wife, the brilliant Iranian-born scholar Nahal, who has a doctorate in Chinese and has helped immerse him in the Eastern cultures, Manichaeism, Sufism, and all that stuff. And she was with Jean-Claude when he worked with his friend, the Dalai Lama. Their 12-year-old daughter, Chiara, could not make it, but says, "Salut, papa. Et vous tous à Hollywood." His late wife, Auguste, an artist, was of great help to me and my producer, son Peter, in the making of Henry and June. His daughter, Iris, our friend from that time, is here tonight, and I have just discovered that it is Iris's birthday, and this is a very nice party for you, Iris. 139 films. Then consider that he's acted in 32 films, and he's directed 3 films, one of which, a short film he did with Pierre Tex called Happy Anniversary, won an Oscar. He's an officer of the Legion of Honor, France's highest honor. Then consider, calculate with me, add in the more than 30 years he spent in the theater, collaborating primarily with the great Peter Brook on many productions like the spectacular 9-hour Mahabharata. Consider how much time he now spends touring the world over with his own one-man version of the Mahabharata, where he plays the ageless storyteller Vyasa. When you consider all the work he's done, and I haven't mentioned everything, not by a long shot, and when you think about how much time it would take any of us, his fellow seasoned pros, to do all that he has done, and when you calculate the hours, the years, the meals, the women, the wear and tear, did I mention the women? And when you're in his presence and feel how remarkably energetic and vigorous he is, what dawns on you, what's weird about him and scary, is that he's strangely like that immortal sage he portrays, the one who wrote the Mahabharata. And then consider that by any human calculation, and I've done the math over and over, this enlightened one, this guy who comes to us disguised as Jean-Claude Carrière, has got to be at least, at the very least, 143 years old. It's about time we gave him an Oscar.